Good morning and welcome to In Depth. I'm Donna Budd, and this morning I'm joined in the studio by Jennifer DeLett-Snyder. And Jennifer is the Executive Director of Join Together Northern Nevada, JTNN. Good morning, Jennifer. Welcome.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being with us this morning. So Jennifer, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved with JTNN, please?
Well, I've worked at JTNN for the last 10 years, and I came in to Join Together Northern Nevada. I had been actually in the private sector, and I had run community relations programs for AT&T. And I got involved with JTNN as a part-time employee, and I thought, well, this is pretty interesting to me. I'm interested in the brain and just learning about addiction. And so some of the first things I was doing with JTNN was a little bit of PR for them and a little bit of setting up training, and that my job kind of evolved. And eventually here we are today. 10 years later, I'm the executive director. So I have my hands in a lot of pots there, but it's over the years, I've really enjoyed learning about the coalitions because we're not the only one in the state. There's 12 of us, and we really do band together. And when you're working in private enterprise, you don't always have that connection with your competitors. You're not really, working together. And really where we are in a nonprofit as a coalition, we have so many partners where we do work together to help prevent substance abuse. And that's a great cause. And I feel like it's a place where I should be.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And what about the organization? Can you tell us about its history, please?
Sure. Join Together Northern Nevada was started by a group of concerned citizens back in the 90s, and it was entirely volunteer initially. And these were people in the community like Sheila Leslie, people who thought there needed to be some organization looking at what are the issues relating to substance abuse, whether it's treatment, intervention, prevention. And eventually that organization received a grant and hired a staff person who was the first staff person, Kevin Quint, who was our executive director up until last year. And so from there was a big coalition movement, substance abuse prevention coalitions in the country from the feds. And so that's how we came to be. And really, the coalition is about the community. It's not about us to grow and be this big nonprofit. We don't do that. We have a very small staff, and it's really about engaging the community in what are the needs, what are the issues, what can we talk about, how do we bring people at the table, because we're very much a convener, a facilitator of those conversations.
Great. And what are some of the services that you offer?
Well, we have many committees that work on, different projects. The Prescription Drug Take Back Day that we do twice a year with the law enforcement, our Prescription Drug Roundup, that is a committee. It meets monthly, talks about our biggest issues right now, our disposal. We collect all of these drugs, but how do we incinerate them? Because we have some issues within the state with incineration, so we take them to California. So we have groups that kind of figure out what are these issues, whether it's marijuana, prescription drugs, underage drinking. We offer a parent support group. That's Wednesday nights for any parent who has a child suffering from addiction, 6 to 7:30. It's absolutely free. There are times that we will add something. We had a chronic pain group for a while because we heard there was such a need for a chronic pain group. And the funny thing is we could only get a couple of people to come each time. So we did end up disbanding it, but I'm getting a lot of calls now. So we may resurrect that group. So we have committees and groups based on what the needs are, what people tell us what they want.
And where do those groups meet? Where are you based?
We are in Reno. We're over on Arlington in California. We have a little office over there. We also have an evaluation center that's part of us, Northern Nevada Evaluation Center. So if people are looking for not an intervention, but it is, I guess, an intervention. It's just getting that evaluation for a court or whatever, a DUI, whatever that is. We're able to provide that. We don't do any direct services like treatment or anything like that, but we do have our evaluation center, and it's tucked in there with us too over there on Arlington.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you partner with a lot of other organizations. So if, for example, someone needs treatment, you would refer them to another organization. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And we do help fund the substance abuse helpline here in Reno, and that number is 825-HELP. And if somebody would come to us and call, and we do get calls, we would definitely tell them about our local partners here in the community. It all depends on, what age are we talking about and what kind of insurance, that type of thing. And there's also, in addition to the substance abuse helpline, there's also the SAMHSA treatment locator, SAMHSA for listeners. If people are looking for treatment, it is hard. It's a challenge. We know that. And we would love to help build capacity for treatment in our city and state too.
Great. And the substance abuse helpline, is that staffed by volunteers or staff members?
It is staffed by both, and they are trained on how to take the substance abuse calls. So it's over the crisis call center, but it's a specific line that they know when those calls come in, what they're about, and they have people who are trained, to talk to people and then refer different services. That's a partnership we've had with them for at least 10 years, possibly longer than that.
Very cool. And what are some of the other organizations in the coalition?
Well, we do a really good job of partnering with our law enforcement partners, Washoe County Sheriff's Office, Reno Police Department, Sparks Police Department, the university, all of the youth providers, so Washoe County School District, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club, Quest Counseling, Washoe County Social Services. You figure a lot of the people who come to our meetings or committees have some involvement with youth, whether it's in a school. In some cases we have individual personnel from schools who may come to a committee. In other cases, maybe it's a higher level, maybe an administrator. But it really is, because we are a prevention organization at the core, we also look at intervention and treatment, but prevention is kind of the core. Any organization that would deal with kids and substance abuse is typically at the table.
And do you serve clients of all age levels?
Yep, anybody can come to, and we our evaluation center has clients. We don't really have what we call clients because we're not providing them a service. But for our parent group, people who come to our parent group, they're of all ages, and those their kids are all ages too. So if a parent has a child who's addicted to prescription drugs or whatever the drug is, the child may be 18 or maybe 40. So, so then you can tell how old the parents would be. And we welcome people of all ages to come and participate in whatever we're doing, whether it's an activity like our prescription drug roundup, it's our parent group, whatever it is, anybody is welcome.
Mm-hmm. I suppose the meetings are group meetings.
They are group meetings. So our committees, yep, they are group meetings, and we meet once a month, and it's based on, right now, the marijuana committee is really looking at, okay, we have dispensaries that are coming into town, how to be able to educate parents about when you have these businesses that come into town, there will be more access to marijuana for youth. So you have to be able to talk to parents, and we have been doing that. But how do you do that, and how do you help them understand that this is not a good drug for their kids to be using? Things like that. So that's the type of thing we talk about in these groups, and it depends on what the activity is as to who bites off a little piece and does something. Like law enforcement is really great with the prescription drug take back day because they have to be involved in order for people to bring back their drugs. And they've been great since the beginning of being absolutely a partner at the table. So it just kind of depends on the group.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Cool. If someone called the crisis hotline, what could they expect?
Well, it depends on what they're looking for, but if they're looking for treatment, they're going to be given resources that are local, and so whoever is there who's going to talk to them is going to be trained on how to talk to them. So it's anonymous. They don't have to give any personal information, and it's just going to be a caring person who's willing to listen to whatever the caller wants to talk about. A lot of times, the caller is not the person, right? I mean, you've figured that out, right? I mean, it's going to be the parent, it's going to be the spouse, it's going to be somebody other than the person who's possibly in the throes of addiction.
Mm-hmm. And then what types of addictive behaviors do you see?
Well, it's when you look at the different drugs, for youth, the number one reason that kids are going to treatment in our state is for marijuana abuse. And that's 12 to 17-year-olds. And then when you get a little bit older than that, it changes to methamphetamine in adults, right? So and we have the gamut. It's kind of like you look at the drug. What is the worst drug? The worst drug is the one that the person is abusing and that they're addicted to, because that's like the worst drug for them. So maybe for one it's meth, maybe for one it's marijuana, maybe for one it's prescription drugs. When you look at prescription drugs, we have a problem with that in our state, absolutely. We've got some efforts underway with the other coalitions in the state and the governor's office to help reduce prescription drug abuse, because our adults are abusing opiates. 1 in 5 are saying that they have used a prescription drug that wasn't prescribed to them. And then with youth are abusing opiates also, but they are going toward more of the amphetamine drugs, so the Adderall, the stimulants. And so they're both abusing prescription drugs, youth and adults, but in a different way and a different type.
Mm-hmm. Do you have lots of volunteers with your organization?
It kind of depends on what we're doing. So with the prescription drug take back event, we have to have a lot of volunteers. So to do that event, we set up at different sites to take drugs back, and we have pharmacists that help count, because we count everything that comes back just to identify what we have. And so we usually need like 60 volunteers probably at that event. We've done different events in the past. We've had a fundraiser called MUHA, which is Music Healing Addictions. And for an event like that, we have a lot of volunteers to help on a daily basis. We have a few here and there, but it really it's kind of project based. We have a project right now called Super Parents Supervise, where we set up a mock bedroom and we show parents what it looks like, possible stash containers and other drug paraphernalia that parents may not be aware of. And we do have volunteers. A lot of them are students, though. They're helping us, and they come and they love it. The students are great. So in answer to your question, I think now that I'm thinking about it, we have more students who are volunteering right now than adults.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And what are some typical things on the Super Parents Supervise, the stash places, or some heads up that you can give to parents?
Well, there are so many different stash containers or items that look like a regular item that really aren't what you think they are. And if you need any instructional kind of use on them, go to the mall. There's 2 or 3 stores in the mall. I won't call them out, but take a look, or have your teenager kind of tell you where they shop at the mall. So there's definitely some stores that sell some products, but there is a highlighter out there that it's the highlighter brand, and it writes like a highlighter, but you pull off the end and it's a pipe.
Wow.
Yes, there are lipsticks that are also pipes. So it looks like a lipstick. A parent would think, oh, this is like a regular, Lancome lipstick. No, it's a pipe. There are fake, Monster cans, water cans, Coca-Cola, anything that would be a can. We've got, the way we're doing our bedroom is we've set it up with girls' products. So we have like a can of shaving cream, maybe he or she would use in the shower, and then hairspray. And they look exactly like the can, they feel like it, but they have a stash compartment in the bottom of them or on the top. So we even have we've got a mouse that we bought that is a fake mouse, and you either use it as a stash container or it's something to weigh your drugs on. Oh. So these are things that parents are not looking in their kids' room thinking, oh, even how about a lint roller? That's right. We have a lint roller and a brush, and as a parent, you're looking at that thinking, oh, okay, yeah, it's like a regular lint roller or a brush, but no, they're actually stash containers, but they look exactly like the regular products. So what we try to do is we have a little lesson when we set up our Super Parents Supervise. We have the parents come in and we ask them, like, what do you think would be suspicious? And most of the time, they don't think anything looks suspicious, but in reality, it all is.
Right. Yeah. Well, it sounds like a really informative session for parents. Is there anything specific that you could suggest to parents to be aware of that they may need to go and start looking to see if there is some drug abuse?
Well, I would take a look at behavior. If behavior has changed, if friends have changed, if grades have changed, you have to look at regular teenage angst, and you have a teen and the behavior is going to kind of change possibly from day to day. But if you notice that you definitely don't see those nice friends anymore, there's a completely new set of friends, and your child isn't maybe showering as much, or there's definitely like changes in the physical appearance too. Those are the times when you need to talk to your child and start asking questions. Really, how are you doing? And is there anything you want to talk about? And start engaging them in conversation. As a parent, it's so important to monitor your teen almost like you do your toddler, because their brain is changing at the same rate as toddlers do when they're in their teens. So you've got to think about that. Like, you have to kind of be there. They are not going to make smart choices all the time. So to the extent that you can be there and you know who they're hanging out with, and you're keeping them busy so that they don't have time to experiment.
Right, exactly. Thanks for joining us this morning for In Depth. I'm Donna Budd, and I'm chatting this morning with Jennifer DeLett-Snyder. She's the Executive Director of JTNN, Join Together Northern Nevada. You mentioned that September is Recovery Month. Do you have some projects coming up for that month?
We do. We typically partner with the treatment centers in town, and we're meeting this Friday to plan our picnic. So we do a big picnic, and it's open to anyone in recovery. It's really a great time to celebrate people in recovery, short-term recovery, long-term, whatever they have. And during the month, there are other events that occur as well. There's usually a walkathon, and there's usually some other, maybe some type of a movie screening. There's usually maybe 3 or 4 events, and people could check back at our website at jtnn.org. Probably in July, we will have everything up there for September. But it is a lot of fun. We do a lot of different things in the month.
Nice. And if someone is interested in volunteering, do you have any special requirements?
I think it depends on the project. So it depends on what they want to do, because we do get people who want to volunteer. If we have youth, a lot of times our youth are helping us talk to other youth about drugs. So that's kind of a fun program for them. They enjoy that. Parents, a lot of times parents want to volunteer. They're not quite sure what they want to volunteer. It's great if we can put them on something like the Super Parents Supervise. We set up this mock bedroom, but it's a little bit labor intensive just to set it up. So we have a tent, you got to put everything together. And so there are definitely places that we can have people involved, but typically I will ask somebody, I'll sit down with them and say, what do you want to do? Because there are people who come to us and they'll come to a meeting and they'll say, well, I just want to talk to people. So we can absolutely do that. We need to figure out what group is appropriate for you to talk to. Because if you're a person in recovery and you want to talk to other, I don't know, do you want to talk to students? Do you want to talk to other adults? So it's just figuring it out. We'll work with anybody.
Awesome. And so on the lower end of the age spectrum, how old does someone have to be to get involved?
We don't really have a limit. I would say most of them are high school, the ones that we're working with right now. High school students. Occasionally we will do contests with the Washoe County School District where we'll have PSA contests, and kids will create different PSAs based on a drug of abuse. And sometimes that's how they find out who we are, and then maybe they'll want to do something with us. But I think middle school is a little challenging. They're not that mobile. Right? They're not like the high school kids who can drive. Although we've had some 15-year-olds and their parents drop them off and they're happy to participate. But high school kids, it's a good age group. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And what should someone do if they're interested in volunteering?
Oh, they can give us a call at our number is 324-7557, or go on our website at jtnn.org and email me or email any of our staff, and we can definitely talk to you.
Great. How many people do you have on staff?
We have about 8, which seems like a lot, but a lot of our staff are part-time, so it's not as big as it sounds.
Yeah. And everybody probably multitasks.
Absolutely. We all do everything.
Yeah. What about funding? Where does your funding come from?
Our funding comes from a couple of different sources. We have federal funding, and then we also have state funding. And the Substance Abuse Prevention Treatment Agency that is here in our state provides block grant and a couple of other grants that we receive. And it's a competitive process, so we apply for those grants. And then through the funding that we receive, there is a portion of a state grant that is given to the coalitions, us and our partners. And we decide in our communities then who to give that money to. So we're kind of like a flow through, but they're looking at the coalition saying, we believe you to be the expert of your own community. Now you decide, you put together an RFA for your community. So through that, we fund 8 different projects in the city or in the county here. And so we've got a couple over at the school district, the university, Children's Cabinet, Accept, Quest. We've got several around. And so that's kind of a nice thing that we can help provide that funding to our community as well.
And are those 8 projects on your website or links
They're
to
not.
them?
We need to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to do that.
Yeah.
We're reworking our website a little bit, but that's something that I want to put up there because they're really great projects. Like Children's Cabinet, they have a Signs of Suicide project where they go in and they talk to school kids. They set up a day and they go in and they do a program and they have on-site counselors. I want to say psychologists, maybe. Hopefully I'm not representing that wrong, but they look for youth who may be considering suicide, and that's a great project. At Quest, they have a project called Teen Intervene, and so these are kids who have possibly gotten in trouble, or maybe not. Maybe they're on the fence of getting in trouble, and they get a couple of lessons on their own, and the parents get a lesson, and so all of these are somehow either prevention or intervention type related.
Very cool. Thank you for joining us this morning for In Depth on Lotus Radio. I'm Donna Budd, chatting with Jennifer from JTNN, Join Together Northern Nevada. Jennifer, what are some of your favorite components of being involved with the organization?
I think just the ability to work with so many people, it's fun. I think it's a lot of fun. We work with, let's say we're doing some sort of project where we're really involved with social services, or like I said before, law enforcement, or maybe the university. We do a lot of training, particularly for physicians up at the School of Medicine. So we create continuing medical education programs, which I really love because we can offer those programs. We do them live, or we do them on webinars. So we're able to offer programs to rural areas across the state that wouldn't necessarily get that type of programming. So especially with prescription drug abuse and some of the issues we've seen relating to chronic pain and overprescribing of pain medications, a lot of those little tiny areas, or even in Washoe County, we're so big, some of the smaller areas in Washoe County, they don't necessarily get the training that the people who are here right in Reno get. So I love to be able to provide that across the state.
Very cool. You mentioned that you're revamping your website. Are there any other specific goals that you have for the remainder of 2015?
Let's see.
Any projects in development?
Yeah, I would say that I'm trying to do additional education, absolutely looking at more education for not just the School of Medicine, practicing physicians, but more of the students, trying to figure out a component that could be used for students to teach them about addiction, because most medical school students and nursing, they get hardly any addiction training when they're going to school. And to be able to provide a little bit more would be great. We've got some modules from Hazelden Betty Ford Clinic that we're just acquiring right now. So we're hoping that we can use that with existing students as well as physicians who have been practicing. But I think the big thing is we have physicians out there who do a great job. They don't know that much about addiction, and being able to provide them what we can that can help their clients, their patients when they come in, because we know all the patients that go in to the doctors, at least 10% of them have some sort of a drug or alcohol problem. So we may as well train those physicians on how to recognize it and what they need to do about it.
Makes sense. Wow, that's a big percentage.
It is.
1 in 10. We have a few moments left on In Depth this morning. Jennifer, is there anything that we haven't yet chatted about that you wanted to discuss?
I wanted to let people know that we are available to provide trainings to any employer. There's a nonprofit, for-profit on any topic relating to drug abuse. So let's say you're an employer concerned about prescription drugs and use of that on the job. We could go in and talk to your employees or talk to your HR department. The same with marijuana, with kind of the laws changing. Anything like that, we're able to provide it. Just go to our website at jtnn.org and find us. Also wanted to let you know, our youth program, we absolutely want to encourage youth to participate. The program is called Speak Out, where youth talk to other youth, and it's usually high school kids talking to middle school kids. But if there are any youth who want to participate, or parents who think their youth might like to participate, again, go to our website or call us at 324-7557.
Okay, and what is your website address again?
jtnn.org.
Okay, awesome. Jennifer DeLett-Snyder, the Executive Director of JTNN, Join Together Northern Nevada. Thanks for being with us this morning. We really appreciate you sharing your information.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for joining us this morning for In Depth. I'm Donna Budd. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you again next Sunday morning. Aloha.